introduce you all to Louis.
Hi, Louis. Thank you for joining us. Nice to meet you.
Same as well. Thank you.
So, you haven't met the other commissioner. So I'm Leanne Ibesugawa, and then William Hewitt is right. I shouldn't say where he is, and his screen will be different from mine.
Thank you, Leanne.
John Matsuoka, and then Joan Lewis, and you know the other
Yes.
folks.
And we
Bill.
have 4 commissioners, Louis, so now you've met all of them.
I only have read about him, but never personally met him.
Oh, God. Don't believe anything you read about me.
Well, thank you for your help, Louis. We really appreciate it. And I know Robin does as well.
Yes,
Thank you.
definitely.
So let's call the meeting to order. And the first matter of business is the minutes from April 29, 2022 that was circulated by Bill earlier this week. I hope you folks have had an opportunity to review them. If you haven't, I'm happy to take a few moments for you to do that. If you have, please let me know if you have any corrections to the minutes. And if you need a few minutes, just let me know. Okay. We're ready. I haven't seen any corrections. John, you're okay? Okay, perfect. So the minutes are approved as submitted. And then we're on to the executive director's report. We generally start with the mediation report and then the caseload report. So Marcus, if you could, please.
Yes, thank you, Leanne. Let me share first the mediation report. What is happening? Let me see. You know what? I actually don't see what I need to share. Okay.
There you go.
I'm doing this a different way though. Let me see. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen. I couldn't actually share the document for some reason, but can you folks see the mediation program report here?
Yes.
Okay, great. Gonna have to scroll through it. So let's see. In terms of changes from last report, I had to do the statistics as of end of the day on Monday. So as of that date, we had 3 cases go through the mediation process since last report, so 32 year to date. And it's an even split. 16 of those have resulted in settlements and 16 have not. So we have 50%, which is acceptable. I mean, we've been better, but I think it's moving in the right direction there. So 16 cases settled so far this fiscal year. And the one that settled this time was an employment case, and it was based primarily on arrest and court record. And so you can see here that of all the cases settled thus far, the highest number have been based primarily on arrest and court record, but closely followed by disability and others. I will note that arrest and court record, I mean, it's a state-only claim. It's not recognized on the federal level, but it is a strong law that we have on the state side. And I think that might explain why we tend to have a lot of successful settlements based on arrest and court record, because the law is pretty clear and definite, I think, when there is a violation. So the parties have an incentive to settle early. So scrolling further down, so year to date, we have had 10 employment cases settled in mediation. We have 6 cases in housing settle. And the one that did settle this last from the last report was through the Mediation Center of the Pacific. And so you can see there, they have a very good 6 out of 8, 75% settlement rate. Other centers have various rates. And for our office, and we process primarily the housing discrimination cases. We had 15 in-house mediations, and 6 of them resulted in a settlement, so a 40% rate, which is, we've been talking about lower than in the past, but I think still, we got 6 cases settled, so that's good. Since the last time, there were 2 cases reported that went through the mediation process in-house and did not result in a settlement. So both of those were housing cases, right? So that's the overall report. We have approximately 1 month to the end of the fiscal year where I'll be able to wrap up and give a year-end summary. So anyone have any questions about this?
No questions.
No? Okay. Then let me move on to the caseload report. And so Louis, for your benefit, this is giving a snapshot of all the cases in our present inventory. I guess you'd say active cases. And so as of end of day on Monday, we had 318 cases, open cases in our caseload, and that's 6 fewer than the previous report. Not much change really. The percentages have been holding fairly steady. So there were, you can see in this region here, so 3 cases from 2018 filed in 2018 that were closed, 7 from 2019 closed, so on and so forth. So we are getting some of those older cases concluded. And so the one very slight bright spot, I think, is with regard to the case aging, which I feel is the most important category. So we're talking about here. There was a very slight decrease in the largest category of oldest cases. So 2 years or older. Last month, it was 32.7% of our caseload. This month, it's 30.2%. So that we're going to see that as the older cases go through, get processed, get investigated and resolved, we're going to have a lower percentage there. So that is progress, very slight progress. And I think that we'll get better tied into, getting new investigators on staff, getting them trained up and into the work. Okay, so going further down, breaking down the cases by type, I didn't see a whole lot of notable change here. So the numbers were holding about the same. And then going further down, so this second page, it's the fiscal year-to-year comparison that has not changed in some time. But once the new fiscal year, the current fiscal year is concluded, at some point we'll have a whole new column. And that usually is once we have our final or our annual report finalized, then we'll use those statistics and input them in here. But what I can tell you is, in terms of year-to-date comparison, going back 5 years. So as we've been discussing, the numbers of pre-complaint questionnaires have been picking up a little bit since last year. So that's a good sign. We have fewer complaints filed, but we have more investigations closed. And then we also have a fairly good number of notices of cause and enforcement closures, which indicates we are attacking our caseload from all sides, from filing of cases to investigation to on the enforcement side, getting some resolutions there. Okay, so that's the report. Anyone have any thoughts or questions on that?
Any questions for Marcus?
Okay.
Hearing. Oh, go ahead, Marcus.
No, I was just going to. If there's no questions, thank you. That's it. I'll stop sharing.
Thanks, Marcus. Okay, so Bill, do you have anything here in this section or?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Sorry
so
about that.
we'll move on to the Chief Counsel's report. Robin. Oh, you're on mute.
Unmute, yes, got it. So there is no change whatsoever in Morning Hill. I just leave it there. So that's, again, you've heard this riff 1,000 times. So no change. I did want to say, though, actually, the judiciary requested and received increased funding specifically for the ICA because there's a huge backlog, and, you know, in this case is a good example. So hopefully that will help move their caseload along, including Morning Hill Foods. And then I'll move right into the legislative summary, if you like. And I was going to try to bring it up on my screen, but let's see. I can't, hang on, I lost the document. Let's see. Sorry about this. I can't figure out how to get rid of that thing on the side, but let's see, we'll just bring it up. I'll try to share it as I'm talking. Share screen. So the two bills that affect us, is it showing now? Yeah. Okay. So the two bills that affect the Hawaii Civil Rights Commission are the two at the top, which you've heard about. The Senate Bill 2002 codifies the administrative rule definition of assistance animal. We supported this bill. We didn't think there was a real need for it, but there's, you know, it'll change our statutes, and I think probably make it more clear for the public, because people don't usually look at the rules, they just look at the statutes. And the statute did clarify that possession of a vest or any papers that you buy on the internet are not valid verification. So I think that this is a pendulum swing, you know, a little bit of the endless discussion of assistance animals and, you know, people's opinions of it. So this is a bit of a backlash. But this was our law previously, so it doesn't really change things for us as an agency. I think we'll have a few more questions, and that's about all. The next thing on that affects the HCRC statutes is the non-disclosure agreement and the prohibition on non-disclosure agreements regarding sex harassment or sex assault. As I've said before, I think this was the legislature's intent last year, and they just wrote it incorrectly as a condition of employment. So they, you know, this is a good move. It's effective upon approval. Nothing much has been approved yet by the governor, but, you know, will be by July. You know, I don't think, and Marcus or Bill can speak to this, I don't know if we've gotten any complaints on this previously as the condition of employment. I don't know that we'll see a lot of litigation about this, but this is a trend nationwide. You know, California did this, New York did this, or New York City, I'm not sure if New York State did, but this is a trend that, you know, is gaining a lot of traction. So I hope that it helps and will prevent serial predators. The other
Robin,
bills. Oh,
if I may, I think it will affect the HCRC on the enforcement side, in that when we enter into predetermination settlements and conciliation agreements that the employer is party to, that we won't be able to include confidentiality terms as to employee disclosure.
and that is actually the point of the bill.
Yeah. So it will affect us in terms of PDS and conciliation.
And
We'll see, to be determined.
yeah, and I suspect that, you know, we regularly get Uniform Information Practice Act requests. Since the Me Too movement, we've gotten numerous requests that we haven't been able to answer, or because they're not public documents regarding, you know, how many cases you get filed, how many, and we just refer them to our annual report. So this will probably change that a little bit in terms of what's available.
Although on its face, it doesn't affect commission disclosure or non-disclosure. So
Right.
we'll
Right.
walk
I mean,
through this.
I'll have to think through that, but yeah, I don't know that it makes it public document.
Yeah, you're right. That's correct.
Yeah, so, but I think that there'll be, I mean, I'll have to figure that out and write something, I'm sure, in the next year or two. Because it will have some effect, I think, on people's perception of transparency. You know, other things that, and I don't need to share this anymore. So I'm not sure I know how to not share. Oh, there it is, stop share. You know, some other things that, you know, affect civil rights and that you had a position on are things like the LGBTQ Commission, which was passed, and that's a great thing. It's been around for a few years as a proposal. So, you know, personally, I support that, and you as commissioners did. The Title IX bill went through. It's, you know, different than what any of us had considered 5 years ago, but it's a start. We do not, HCRC does not have jurisdiction, which is a good thing given our limitations right now. An insurance bill went through that prohibits denying coverage based on gender identity, so that will help the trans community. The rental discrimination bill based on source of income, SB 206 from last year, was passed in a very, very limited way, as I, you know, I mentioned that in the summary. It eliminates attorney's fees. So I don't see that anybody's going to take these cases, because I don't see that anybody who has Section 8 can afford a lawyer. So I actually think it's sort of a, and it also doesn't apply to small employers, and I'm using air quotes because, I mean, small landlords, because it's 6 units, if you own 6 units or less. So that could be one building, but it could also be a number of like houses, which is, so, but it did go through. I think it doesn't have a lot of teeth, but it's a statement. The Hawaiian language bill went through, saying that the state letterheads and counties have to have include consistent Hawaiian names. So, you know, these are all things that we've talked about before and that are moving forward. There were no concurrent resolutions adopted. So we have no reports or anything to write, you know, and again, I think that the resolutions, that the lack of resolutions is a result of COVID and the legislature's, you know, effort to work on bigger bills. And they had big budget issues this year. So that's it. You won't be hearing any legislative reports for a while, till January.
Thanks, Robin.
William's cheering. Thanks,
It'll
William.
come fast. It did this year. It'll come around quickly. But thank you, Robin, for all of your work. Also, Bill, for you know, all of the legislative work as well. And I think we are on to the announcement of the next meeting already.
Oh, wow.
So, I think, you know, we did it today, right? Because I couldn't do it last week, Friday, and some other folks had some conflicts. But we can go back to Fridays if you folks want to. But I don't know, Joan, are those IEP days still? But you're on summer break soon.
Once again, I'm muted. They're on summer break, so my June, if we're looking for a June meeting, June is pretty wide open for me.
Okay.
In terms of meeting days of the week, times of day. So for at least the month of June, I'm open to whatever works best for everybody else. I have no limitations.
Okay, great. Anybody else? I think we're looking at the 22nd, 23rd, or 24th. I can't do the 24th at 11 to 1, but I can do it other times, or we can do the 23rd at 11 or the 22nd at 11. So it's a Wednesday or a Thursday. I see William
I'm
sort
okay
of
with any of those three times and days.
Okay. How about we do Wednesday at 11, since that's, 4 weeks from
Okay, 11
now.
a.m. And that's
Sounds good.
June
22nd.
22nd. Okay,
John, does that work for you? He's checking. Oh, you're muted. If you're John, you're muted. We can't hear you.
still muted.
Checking my calendar. Anyway, that's.
Oh, there. Is the 22nd at 11 okay for you, John?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. If it's all right with everybody else, then we will set Wednesday, June 22nd at 11 a.m. as our next meeting. And I think Robin is always on it, and she sent Zoom request.
Yes, I'll send something out.
Are there any announcements? Everybody. Okay, I have one announcement, and it's based on Robin's email. She sent it on May 10th, and it's for the ethics training that the Ethics Commission has put out. They are voluntary trainings, but you can attend them in two ways. One is via live online training or self-directed. So the live online ones you have to actually register for, and they're August, October, December. So there's actually quite a few for boards and commissions. So if you have time, there's those, or there's the self-directed ones. And I think I think maybe their email pointed it out, or yours did as well, Robin, that in light of the scrutiny that government has come under recently, these trainings are highly encouraged.
That's correct. And you all attended an in-person training, and I also don't, we're not a board that comes under a lot of scrutiny. So that's, one thing. And it does, as you may recall from the previous one, there's a lot of emphasis on gifts. And I don't know that people, people offer you a lot of gifts.
You don't get gifts.
But I still encourage you to take it. And I think that the self-directed one has that thing, where they quiz you in the middle to see that you're actually attending. But I'm not sure, because I haven't, and I actually plan to also take it out of, curiosity and see what they're sending you.
Robin, I think you just encouraged us to take gifts. Is that what you said?
No.
Okay.
To take it, but yes. But thanks, Leanne, for remembering that and for bringing it up. I do think it's, I don't think you're under a great deal of scrutiny. And I think the self-directed one will probably go a little bit faster.
Okay, but that's really helpful. So thanks for sending that out, Robin.
Sure.
All right, so that's our announcements. If there aren't any others, we do have an executive session that is noted on the agenda. So, Bill, let me know how you want to manage this.
You have to. We have to have a motion to go into executive session.
Oh, okay. So I'll ask for a motion.
I move that we go into executive session to discuss, what is the name of the agenda item usually? And then a motion to go into executive session should also mention if there's an exception, such as with the exception of the council, somebody else, Otherwise, executive session.
Yeah, so, and actually, I would say with the exception of council and executive director and deputy director.
And it's for discussion of a confidential personnel matter.
Okay. So that should, yes, so moved.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second,
Okay, thanks, Joan. Anyone opposed? Seeing and hearing none, the motion passes and we will go into executive session. Technologically speaking, I don't have the ability to move people into a
I do.